Hello everybody, so in this video I found you guys something a wee bit more modern, but very rare and equally very interesting. So at first glance this just looks like any old bog standard E36 BMW from 30 years ago. But actually it's a 325 TDS that came from a factory with a manual gearbox, so that's a very rare combination in itself. So in this video I'm going to give you a wee bit of background to the E36 TDSs. We're going to take a close look around this one, take it for a drive, I'll tell you what I think about it. The car is currently for sale. I think it's probably one of the best ones on the market at the moment. So let's find out. My name's Chris and welcome to Retro Ratchet. Right, before we get into this one, if you're enjoying the channel, please consider subscribing. We're currently just over 6,000. We need to get that up to 10,000. So I'd really appreciate your support in that. Okay, on a wee bit of background about the E36. So these were launched back in 1990. They were the third generation of the 3 Series. They came in a wide range of different options. So starting with body styles, we had saloon, coupe, touring estate, convertible and the compact. Tons of engines. You had the 316, 318, 320, 323, 325 and 328. And 3 diesels, a 318 TDS, a 325 TD and a 325 TDS. And in 1992, the hot M3 arrived with 286 brake horsepower in saloon, coupe and convertible form, and then 3 years later we saw the 3.2 litre Evo. Power output was up to 321 brake horsepower. And then in 1997 the next generation E36 was launched. So 1993 saw the arrival of the 325 TDS, which we're looking at today. So a few wee key facts about this one. It was registered in March 1994, and to be honest, I can't believe these are knocking on 30 years old now. This one's fitted with a 5-speed manual gearbox. Most were actually automatic from the factory. Boston green metallic paintwork with full black leather, which I think just goes together perfectly. But most importantly, the car is immaculate. So current owner John is a retro car enthusiast like myself. He's got a few other cars which we might also feature on the channel in the future. But this one he bought to tow a small caravan about in style, and secondly because it was a mint and rust-free example. Right, so let's take a wee look around this one. He wasn't kidding when he said this thing was immaculate. So we'll start with the front. And what I like about the styling of these is square. Everything is squared off. Panel gaps are actually pretty decent, but a very robust, high quality car back in the day. Now, there is a few wee stone chips on the bonnet, as you would expect from a car that is unrestored, but I think we'll let it off with that. Headlamps, the grille, the bumper, they're all in fantastic condition. Even those plastic inserts there do actually look like new. Moving down below, you've got your fog lights and that wee spoiler there, and that grille, all in great condition. Headlamp washer jets, I reckon they were probably an option. But yeah, what a nice motor. And then you've got that big BMW badge there in the middle. Now let's take a wee look around the side. We'll go with this side so the sun isn't in our eyes. Very, very understated. Maybe a little bit plain because you're used to seeing M3s, which are a bit more in your face. But there is still a few nice design features on these, I feel. You've got that sill cover down there, which makes the car look like it does sit a wee bit lower. It's fitted with those original BMW 15-inch alloys. Again, they are understated. They're not in your face like some of the M-spec ones, but they do suit the classy nature of this car. And the paint is just stunning. I mean, looking down there, there's no rust, is there? Which has to be rare on an E36. Let's take a view down there. Very, very straight car. Around the back, quite understated again. You've got that tiny wee lip spoiler there, obviously BMW badge in the middle, but back in the days when the lettering stood out and it told you exactly what model you had, 325 TDS. Tow bar for the caravan and a single downswept exhaust. But again, it's in fantastic condition. Now let's take a wee nosy and see in the boot if it still has its original BMW toolkit. Or if everything's missing. Nope, it's all still in there. Pliers, tow eye, wheel lock, a couple of spanners and an Allen key. I mean, that's fantastic back then that you got all these things with a car. First aid kit in there, and it's probably a warning triangle in case you break down. But yeah, it's nice that everything is still as it left the factory. Now we'll try and have a wee look around the driver's side. Kind of the same, no rust down there at all. What a survivor. And I think that is a concern if you're buying a 20-year-old BM. What's the corrosion like? But this certainly seems to be the exception to the rule. And in the sun, that Boston green metallic absolutely pops, doesn't it? What do we think then? Impressed? Right, let's take a look at the interior. Stunning, full black leather. Some of these came with cloth, some of them are half leather. This would obviously be the choice. It's a very, very comfy place to be. You know, you've got this big armrest here in the middle as well, which you can move out the road if need be. I certainly got comfortable in it very, very quickly. Now this dashboard layout I think is actually quite futuristic up here. The shape of these air vents, very, very unusual, certainly for a 90s car. And this one, it does seem to be packed with quite a lot of kit. So here we've got dual zone climate control. You've got an original BMW business radio cassette player, and then down below we have what looks like a 1990s Ford Mondeo stereo. Sorry BMW fans, it kind of does, but it's actually a fuel computer. And there's lots of different functions on there: temperature, speed, distance, check. You control it off that stock there, so that is nice to see. Consumption 28.5 with me driving it, and range 190 miles. But look at the condition of this thing. It's immaculate. Front and rear electric windows, as you would expect. There's your hazard warning light down there. It's got an M Sport gear knob on it, which I reckon probably isn't factory. Instrument panel, let's take a closer look at this. Very, very clear big dials. And you've got that traditional mile per gallon analogue display there down underneath the rev counter. I really like that, even considering that you do have a fuel computer, so that just supplements that. Down below, I think that's a service warning light bar display there under the mileometer, and your fuel level and your engine temperature, and a few little warning gauges there as well. But yeah, very, very clear. 160 mile an hour speedo, red line just under 5,000. Sporty steering wheel, 3-spoke here, and it is fitted with a driver's airbag and no passengers one. I mean, this was when they were starting to fit airbags into cars back then in the early 90s. And you've got your exterior light control over there with your fog lights, wee speaker there on the doors. I would say it's a very, very nice cabin, which also happens to be in fantastic condition. I mean, look at that driver's seat there. It's amazing. Let's take a wee look in the back. Same story, luxury. Check out the size of that central armrest, it is massive. And the leather's in great condition. Electric window switches there. But yeah, what a lovely place to soak up the miles. Engine bay. Got a big old lump sitting under here. This does take you back to the era of over-engineering and elegance, but yeah, it fills the under bonnet area well. This one, it's an M51, it's 2.5 litres and it's straight 6. This engine was also available in the Vauxhall Omega, believe it or not. But yeah, it's like time warp condition under here. You know, these strut tops, they are immaculate. Even the slam panel, all the plastics, they're all in great condition. Even your sound deadening up here is all intact and still pinned well onto the bonnet itself. And then from what you can see of the bulkhead, you know, around the servo, it is absolutely immaculate. You know, even the wiring harnesses and everything's still clipped in place as it should be. So it's great to say, certainly what would have been a workhorse back in the day in this kind of condition. So the owner, John, tells me he's seen 34, 35 mile per gallon on average when he's driving on a daily basis, which I think is pretty decent for a 20-year-old Beamer with this engine in it. So let's start it up and see what it sounds like. How smooth is that? Smooth as silk, this thing. Pretty impressive. Right, let's take it for a wee drive. Exciting part now, I hope. Love that diesel noise. Okay, so in this test drive there's going to be 3 characteristics I'm going to take a wee bit of a closer look at. We're going to look at noise, performance and comfort. So I think that's probably the 3 most important things if you're buying a car like this. Okay, so let's start with noise. So you can obviously tell it is a diesel, but it's a straight 6 diesel, and I think they sound so much better. It's actually quite a pleasant noise off of this one. It's not too much in your face. When you're up and running, we're doing 35 there, you can actually hardly hear the engine noise. So it just, you know, when you're doing 10-20 mile an hour, it is apparent that it's an oil burner, but anything above that when you're cruising, you know, it really isn't that obvious. And see at these speeds, when you put your foot down, you can just hear that turbo whistle. So that definitely gets thumbs up from me. Yeah, I really like that. And in terms of overall refinement, that's just sitting at 40 mile an hour there. There's no wind noise. The only thing I can hear is tyre noise. So no engine noise, no creaks or rattles. It's actually eerily silent in here, which is a good thing, but it's obviously a well screwed together car. So I'm very, very impressed by that. I thought there would at least been a few rattles by 20 years old on one of these. Okay, so time to look at performance. Let's give it a wee test down here, see how well it does. There's second gear there, 2000 revs, floored. And there's 70. So is that what we expected? I think book speed on these is around 10 seconds to 60. 143 brake horsepower. It does have a fair amount of weight up front. Being a diesel, it is quite short geared, as you'll just have seen from that pull there. I think about 40 in second, a little bit over 60 in third. So it goes all right. It is apparent, you know, you need to be above 2000 RPM, you know, to get that turbo to spool and kick in. And then by the time 2.5 comes, I think you're on full boost and it's moving along quite nicely. 60 mile an hour here, cruising, 2000 revs. It's pretty silent. Floor it, on boost there, and that's you at 70. So yeah, it's quite torquey. So gearbox, typical BMW 5-speed manual. The throw's quite short. I think it's quite precise, if a little bit notchy like they all are. So there certainly doesn't seem to be much wear in this one. Same as the clutch, it's quite progressive in its action. Bites just over halfway up. So yeah, I think it all fits together quite nicely. So there's 4th gear pull, 50 mile an hour. It's on boost, feel it spooling there. And we're at 70. Certainly a very, very easy car to drive. So yeah, I think if you're just toddling along like this, keeping it between 2,000 and 3,000 RPM, that's probably a sweet spot. Power obviously tails off round about 4,000, and there's not a great deal under 2,000. Lovely smooth clutch when you're pulling away as well. Not sure if that'll be an original clutch at 83,000 miles. If it is, that's impressive. Yeah, very relaxing, comfortable car to drive, I would say. So we've now reached the end of this review, so put in the comments if you fancy a TDS version of the E36 after watching this. I thoroughly enjoyed the few I've had with this one. It certainly doesn't drive like a 20-year-old car with 83,000 miles on the clock. It's packed full of kit and it's in mint condition. The values of the E36s are certainly on the rise from the research I've been doing. It's a challenge to find a rust-free original example. So thanks to John for allowing me to do the review of this one, and I'll put a link in the description to the for sale ad. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all for the next one.